What's up, everybody, man back. Welcome to a brand new video, and today we're going to be doing another Godzilla Kong Supernova news and updates. In this one, we are talking about some new set filming that happened for Godzilla Kong Supernova, which gives us a good look at where we're heading in the film, and we're talking about the potential that the movie may have finally spoiled who the enemy is truly going to be, or at least many people thought so. Let's talk about it. I'm the D-Man doing reshoots for this video, which was supposed to be the back half of the last Godzilla Kong Supernova news and updates, but as I said in that video, I had an emergency yesterday, so I had to split it in half. Which means, if you haven't seen my last Godzilla Kong Supernova news and updates, go head on over to that video right now. We go in depth on a lot of the filming locations that will be appearing in Godzilla Kong Supernova, as well as what those locations are in the film, because sometimes the filming location isn't the location that's going to be in the movie. So go check that discussion out over there, and then for now, we'll continue on and get into all sorts of stuff. But I want to start out with some artwork like always. This first piece comes to us from Nuclear. This is their Godzilla 2014 poster re-edit where they've edited in their fan Godzilla to the poster. I think it's so sick. I really like their fan Godzilla. It's a very 2014 looking Godzilla. Love the gills on him. Love the red showing through, kind of King of the Monsters burning mode. Yeah, I think it's really sick. So I wanted to show that one off. Fox Club sent over their Godzilla Kong Supernova poster. If you want your Godzilla fan art featured in one of these videos, just send it to me over on Twitter at dman1954 Gojira. And for now, here's Fox Club Supernova poster. It's so cool. I love it. You got Earth out there in the background. You got Godzilla and Kong looming over, and then you've got the shadows of Space Godzilla and Gigan. Of course, people really think Space Godzilla and Gigan are going to be the villain of this new movie. You know, could be. Or is it the guy we'll talk about later in this video? We'll get into it. I thought that this was really interesting, but I found some alternate concept art of Adam, aka Dagon, from Godzilla 2014. For those of you who don't know or haven't noticed, I've done quite a few videos breaking down the lore of Godzilla 2014 on this channel in more depth than I've literally seen anybody else on the entire internet go into in that film. And not only that, but I've done some discussions lately as to Dagon's backstory in the MonsterVerse. In Godzilla 2014, it's referred to as Adam on this chart. You can see there's the bones of it on this Monarch chart. Very cool, obviously very Godzilla looking, kind of reminiscent of the 2014 Godzilla himself. It's supposed to look a lot more like that. But the original concept art, which is actually featured in the Target exclusive special features for Godzilla 2014, give us a very different look of Dagon. He looks so different. He looks very Toho styled. Like, look at that head. It looks very Toho styled. The arms are really interesting to me because they're so scrawny, and especially the hands are so tiny. They make very little sense to me. The actual dorsal fins look just like the Heisei Godzilla. Very cool. Obviously, this was just their concept art, which was later turned into the Adam artwork we see in the movie. But even more interestingly, as it was pointed out by Goji Ava, it looks like the Heisei Godzilla because it is the Heisei Godzilla. This is a concept model for what Godzilla's skeleton might look like in the Heisei series made for the Heisei films back in the day. The Godzilla 2014 artwork is basically tracing over this. It's even got those tiny little scrawny Godzilla arms, which makes no sense because the Heisei Godzilla had really bulky arms. So I don't know what's up with that, and the hands are just so weird. But there's the actual full Heisei Godzilla skeleton model that was made for those films. Obviously not like this Heisei Godzilla skeleton is canon to the MonsterVerse, but it's just really cool to see where they had started out before developing into the skeleton we saw in the movie. And it's also cool to know about this Heisei Godzilla skeleton because I'd never seen this before. One thing I think is super interesting about this alternate Godzilla bones thing is that it actually kind of lines up with some of the bones we see in some of the other special features for Godzilla 2014. The Muto files, getting into the Muto, show us a scan of the cave that the bones are found in the Philippines, and they're actually very consistent with that alternate Heisei Godzilla bones. You can see the arms are almost identical. I just thought that was interesting because I've always wondered why in the special features the Godzilla bones arms are so tiny. Obviously it looks visually different in the film. Of course, the bones in the Philippine cave are not at that extreme of an angle. They're not slanted like that. They also, like, the spore is in the wrong spot, technically speaking, in the special features. So just thought I'd mention all of that, but I thought it was very cool, so I did want to mention it. As I discussed in the last video, video, Godzilla Kong Supernova is turning out to be quite the global adventure. We are having tons of locations featured in the next MonsterVerse movie, and one thing I find interesting is that as the MonsterVerse continues, a lot of the locations that are being checked off are locations that were featured in the advertisements for Godzilla 2014. Now, I think this is somewhat subconscious or unintentional, but I did think it was cool and worth mentioning. For Godzilla 2014, a big part of the ad campaign was that photo of Godzilla's silhouette in San Francisco. Well, in order to promote the movie internationally, they actually photoshopped Godzilla into the destroyed cityscapes of the cities they were advertising in, or like some of the more popular cities in the country they were advertising in. While Godzilla has not visited all of them, like for instance, he has not been to Sydney, Australia yet in the MonsterVerse, he has visited some of them, and he's working his way through. First up, Godzilla took a trip to Hong Kong. This is the artwork for Godzilla 2014. You can see Godzilla in the Hong Kong skyline, and of course, Godzilla goes to Hong Kong in Godzilla vs. Kong. This is where he dukes it out with Kong for 2 rounds. This is where he fights Mechagodzilla. It's the main centerpiece of that movie, and I thought that was really cool that this is our first look at MonsterVerse Godzilla in Hong Kong. Next up is Rome. Godzilla goes to Rome in Godzilla Kong the New Empire. In fact, this artwork places Godzilla 2014 in the Colosseum, unintentionally foreshadowing that Godzilla would eventually move into the Colosseum in New Empire. I just think that's so freaking cool that Godzilla's in the Colosseum here. While Godzilla doesn't technically go to Paris in the MonsterVerse, he does go to France in Godzilla Kong the New Empire. Here's the France banner with Godzilla next to the Eiffel Tower, but yeah, Godzilla does go to France in the New Empire. It's where he attacks that nuclear power plant. And I bring this up because we're checking off another location. It seems the final battle for Godzilla Kong Supernova is most likely going to take place in London, and here you go. Here's the MonsterVerse Godzilla's first trip to London, looking fantastic. I also love that alternate angle of him where he's a little more turned to the side, where Godzilla's standing here, you know, attacking Big Ben. What's that London castle in the background? I actually don't know what that castle is called, to be honest with you guys, but there he is attacking Big Ben, or standing next to the remains of Big Ben. It's very cool, and I do think we will get something like this in the new movie, so I'm very, very curious to see what happens next. Speaking of the destruction of Big Ben, in the last video I mentioned that Mr. Goji has been frequently teasing that maybe Space Godzilla will attack Big Ben in the new movie. Here's the tweet I was referencing. I just wanted to show that off for the record. I would be surprised if they include a reference to this comic book panel in the movie intentionally, but I could see something like this happening if the villain winds up Space Godzilla, but it might not be. So to find out who the villain might be, and if they accidentally spoiled him while filming Supernova, let's get back to the main topic here. A filming notice for Moab was sent out. This is from the city of Moab, Utah. It announces like what street is closing down, where parking is going to be, where film support is going to be, and it breaks down when filming is going to happen from 5 a.m. to noon. They're going to be doing this full closure of the streets, and it was going to be a really big deal. You can check out the crew map here. Tabasco ADV, who is like, I think they're like a motorcyclist content creator on Facebook. They travel around on their motorcycle and they take photos of the places they're going and driving or riding, and they actually rode right past production for Godzilla Kong Supernova. They have some photos of all of these crew and trailers and all this stuff lined up on the streets. Very, very awesome. This is in Moab, Utah. This happened on July 21st. So they were already ready to film on July 21st in Moab, Utah, which is actually before the filming is slated to happen on July 30th in Main Street. So it seems like they filmed some of these Moab scenes before they got to that big Main Street Moab City sequence. As we approached the main shooting in Moab City, the Times Independent reported that it's the only US city used during filming for Godzilla Kong Supernova. It brings in crew from Los Angeles, Salt Lake City, London, and Australia. Major road closures will happen on the 30th, and drones will be flying over the downtown area to capture people running in the streets. This is very reminiscent of when they closed down a bunch of Queensland streets to film the big Rio destruction scene in Godzilla Kong the New Empire. Following this, Bailey Nagy and English Sly shared BTS photos of the filming of Godzilla Kong Supernova taking place in Utah. You can see they're filming this canyon that looks very, very much like the Grand Canyon. You can definitely get a sense of how they're going to represent this as the Grand Canyon in the movie. You've got the river running straight through the bottom there. It's a higher up shot, which means we're getting a wide shot of the canyon. This could be an establishing shot, but I really do think this is going to be a plate shot that they're going to put a Titan in. Hopefully my flying red battleship Rodan himself. I want to see my big battleship back in action. I need to see this dude flying through the Grand Grand Canyon, disturbing the water down below him. I need it. Give it to me, please. I don't care that he's nesting in a volcano in Fiji. I just want Rodan back. You can also see they're filming with IMAX cameras. Now, if you're wondering, Bailey Nagy and English Sly are two of our camera department members for Godzilla Kong Supernova. They work in the camera department, and Bailey Nagy is the one who previously seems to have accidentally spoiled that baby Godzilla will be appearing in this movie. Maybe they're gonna discover baby Godzilla's egg in the Grand Canyon. Maybe Rodan's gonna come after that egg like in Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla. We have set photos of our Moab filming. These are very awesome. You can see they've got tons of military vehicles set up. They've got military tents set up. They've got some, I think, Monarch logos on those military vehicles, some satellites. This actually reminds me a lot of some of the stuff we saw in Monarch Legacy of Monsters. Like, this very much reminds me of some of the stuff we saw in Monarch Legacy of Monsters. And it seems like these military trucks, these Jeep trucks, they've got guns on the top, but they don't seem like overly futuristic. You know, I've previously speculated that maybe they're going to finally be introducing some higher technology, like maybe potentially masers. It seems very likely that we might get some masers or something along those lines in this movie. Well, these trucks seem just very, very normal. This does remind me, the trucks as well, the landscape of Scylla's awakening, that scene in Godzilla King of the Monsters when those Monarch trucks are driving around and then Scylla erupts from beneath them. I think that could be something like that as well. I don't know how big of a sequence this military tent setup is going to be. Doesn't seem like they filmed too much there, but it is just important to note that they did film all of this, you know, so it means something. We just don't know totally what. Dan Mindel shares additional photos at the canyon, once again looking just like the Grand Canyon. Dan Mindel is the cinematographer for this movie, so he's the one in charge of the camera department. You can see they've got that giant camera crane right here to get some very nice high up shots of this canyon. Once again, they're stationed up on top of it, so I would like to say again, I think we're getting some wide high shots of the canyon from up above, probably looking down on our characters below. Like I said, I think Kaitlyn Dever's going to be at the river, and I'm hoping to see Rodan flying around that freaking canyon, man. I really hope so. And Foley, the costume designer for Godzilla Kong Supernova, shared a photo from inside the canyon. If you look in the background, you can see they're standing next to what appears to be a boat or something on the water, or a raft, kind of like a motorized raft it looks like. There's a bunch of crew standing at the water, so again, I'm thinking we're getting some river sequences with our characters in the water in the Grand Canyon. And very important here, Anne Foley tags it with the emoji for Godzilla, a dinosaur, Kong, a monkey, and a meteorite, a freaking meteorite. I totally forgot I can switch over to the second screen now. Look at that, Godzilla, Kong, and a meteorite. This is once again another instance of one of our GXK members teasing a meteorite. So clearly, the enemy monster will be arriving by meteorite in this new movie. Like, unmistakably at this point, that is how the new monster, the enemy monster, is gonna get here, just like Ghidorah did all the way back in 1964, arrived as a meteorite. Only other monsters we've seen do that are Gigan, Monster X, and you guessed it, Space Godzilla. Those are the only other monsters that have arrived as a meteorite. Space Godzilla didn't technically arrive as a meteorite, he arrived alongside meteorites, but still. Moab John Graham shared photos of the Moab filming beginning. Here once again, we can take a look. I forgot that I have this screen, it's very nice. Filming is officially underway in Moab City. They've got the street blocked down. I actually don't think any of these vehicles, like this is just a police car meant to lock down the street. But then you can see here there are 3 cop cars. Those are going to be important in a second, and they're on the main street of Moab City. Here's another shot. You can literally see the drone we talked about earlier flying in the sky. They've got a giant camera crane, which looks so epic. These trucks and stuff are set dressing. This is obviously Video Village where they're filming from. And again, running down Main Street, big chaos in Main Street. I'm assuming this is going to be used as Sedona, Arizona. This is another set photo. We see another one of these police cars. Again, I don't think this is actually in the movie. It very well could be, but I think it's outside the border. You can see there's the border, so I think that's where set ends, and it's just meant to control traffic. There's once again, there's the crane. Beautiful scenery. I'm very excited for this sequence. Here's another shot, very similar to one of those other ones. There's the drone again, there's the big crane, and there's all of our crew. It looks very cool. I cannot wait, dude. I've seen some people saying that this movie sounds like it's shaping up to be King of the Monsters 2.0, and that makes me so freaking happy. I love King of the Monsters so much. I really hope so. I totally forgot to talk about this, but we actually have a video from the set as well. This video shows the sequence in action with all the cars driving down the main street and all the people running away. You can see there are crowds of people running on the side there. Clearly they're running away from the monster, and there's lots of chaos there, which means we're probably going to be seeing this full town under attack. The thing that I actually find most interesting is that you can see the police cars are driving in unison. The streets aren't crowded, so it almost looks like they were kind of prepared for the Titan attack. But what's most interesting to me is that the people are running away in the same direction the police cars are going. So it's not even like the police cars are necessarily responding responding to the event, unless, for instance, they're running away from an enemy Titan and they're driving towards a different Titan. Like, I don't know. Are the police cars driving towards a monster? You'd think the police cars would be driving towards a monster to combat it. You'd think. Maybe they're also just fleeing. It could also be that they're fleeing as well. But all the people on the streets are certainly running away from a monster. So there's our sequence in action. We got some awesome photos of Englishly, who I think is our camera operator for this movie, standing in the river here. He's got his camera kit right here. This is a focus pull, I believe. This helps him pull focus. This looks like a lens or a lens cap. And then he's got the giant camera mounted on his shoulder with a very, very important badge, which we'll talk about towards the end here. There's a zoom in on the badge. Everybody's sussing out the badge. A series of posts from people like Robert Light indicate that filming has officially wrapped in Moab, so you can see this beautiful landscape photo here of them standing in Moab with that very, very Grand Canyon-esque background. If I didn't know better, I literally would think that they're at the Grand Canyon right now. Looks beautiful. Said, finally finished my first trilogy with this guy, Englishly. Top tier department head and focus puller extraordinaire. Look, it's no Back to the Future, but I suppose big monsters will have to do. Here we go, off to the last days in Mexico. Life on location. I'm totally fine with him saying it's no Back to the Future. It's clearly one of his favorite movies. If I was working on Back to the Future, I'd say it's no Godzilla, but you know, I'm excited to be here. Clearly just a different preference in franchise, that's all. I saw some people annoyed about that. And then they're off to Mexico, which obviously we know they're filming in Mexico City. Another post, the sun sets on the fight, that they're done here. Maybe indicating that Godzilla and Kong are gonna fight. He's got Blue Oyster Cult's Godzilla playing. Could be a teaser that Godzilla and Kong are gonna literally fight each other in the Grand Canyon, kind of calling back to that Egypt fight. As I speculated in that other video, it's very possible that they could be duking it out. I really hope not, as we'd be retreading a lot of ground in that case, but you know, it could happen. Tessie McLeod announced that they've wrapped, so they're totally done here. And then this seems like they're done here. Bulk of filming happened in Queensland, Australia, and Utah. Utah unit shot from July 21st through August 2nd, so it seems like they wrapped up on August 2nd, with the release date of the movie coming out on March 26, 2027, and the production title Zeus. And Foley shared this post celebrating sunset on Utah. They're all done, saying, I love working on these movies. Obviously, she worked on Godzilla vs. Kong as well. She was the costume designer for Godzilla vs. Kong. She says, I love working on these movies, and when you get to work with your friends, it makes for an extra special experience. Huge thank you to our fearless leader, Grant Spatore, director, and producers, Alex Garcia, Eric McLeod, and Jen Cornery, and a dream cast led by my girl, Kaitlyn Dever, Dan Stevens, and Jack O'Connell. Love you all, with the freaking dinosaur, monkey, and asteroid. It's, come on, man. The monster's coming by meteor. Bad guys coming by meteor. She did share a series of location photos. Nothing crazy. Most of them are just filming in the canyon itself, but the one that stuck out was this one of Kaitlyn Dever. You got Kaitlyn Dever here. I actually think she might be out of costume for Godzilla Kong Supernova, but she's in the canyon itself. I think there's a road in the background, but I'm assuming the river might be between her here. This is not the photo I was talking about where she's like in the river. We'll talk about that in a future video, but yeah, there she is in Moab filming. She's going to be our main character for the movie. I just watched the movie No One Will Save You, starring Kaitlyn Dever, and she is truly fantastic in it. She's so great in that movie, so I'm very excited to see her in Supernova. I cannot wait. Stuart Katniss XX over on Instagram shared this photo. Here is our first look at Trapper Dan Stevens from Godzilla Kong Supernova. Seems to be out of costume. This seems to be a little, I'm assuming, like mom and pop shop that sells little weird goodies, and it could just be that they're taking a photo with Dan Stevens in between filming or on an off day or when they're packing up and leaving. I'm not entirely sure. There's Dan Stevens on set for Godzilla Kong Supernova, which means he is also going to be in this Moab sequence. He is also going to be in the Grand Canyon in the movie. The real Dylan Johnson reports that this is in the little shop, Moab Rock Shop. So not part of the production team. Like, we're not going to probably be seeing the dinosaur bones in the movie, which would be funny because Sam Neill's in it, and obviously he's in Jurassic Park digging up the dinosaur bones, but seems like this most likely is the Moab Rock Shop, and Dan Stevens just popped in for a visit and they took a photo with him because they were excited to see him. Either way, very cool. Now we know Dan Stevens and Kaitlyn Dever are going to be in this Grand Canyon sequence in Supernova. Finally, did they accidentally spoil the villain of Godzilla Kong Supernova? Well, here's the patch that, again, is on English Sly's camera. This is the patch on his camera. We know that sometimes they decorate the cameras with Godzilla Kong stuff. Like, they've put Godzillas on them. They've put the GXK on them. Like, they have decorated these cameras with Godzilla Kong stuff. Very well could be that this is part of the movie. This could be something like, you know, Griffin Co. in Kong Skull Island, the Sky Devils, who had their own little insignia. It could be something like that. Like, maybe this relates to the new group that Matthew Modine's character seems to be a part of. Could be something like that, we don't know. But fans were quick to point out, like Mr. Goji, in the original script for the scrapped Godzilla 1994 film, the Griffin first arrived at a lake in Utah within a meteorite, and they're filming in Utah right now for Godzilla Kong Supernova. Sure, they might change the location of the film, but regardless, very interesting with some photos of the Griffin. Obviously, Godzilla vs. the Griffin was written in 1994. It was going to be the movie that eventually became Godzilla 1998. In it, it features basically a shape-shifting monster called the Griffin that Godzilla fights, but its main shape was this kind of monstrous, almost gargoyle-type creature. It's actually a really, really awesome monster. Very cool. Stan Winston Studios made the props for these things. It looks fantastic. You can see it was going to be kind of like a chimera monster, part horse, you know, all these different pieces. It was a very, very cool concept, almost like Godzilla versus the Thing, where it's a shape-shifting monster that can take on features of other creatures that it's come in contact with or whatever. It was very cool. I don't think it means anything at all. As Mr. Goji points out, they're changing the location for the movie. It's going to be in the Grand Canyon. So the Utah connection seems very flimsy to me. I don't think there's any Utah connection from like, well, in the Griffin script, it was going to be in Utah, and now here we might be in Utah. We're in the Grand Canyon. I don't think the Griffin's going to be the monster. Also, who owns the rights to the Griffin? This was a Sony TriStar film, just like Godzilla 1998. We cannot use the Griffin. It'd be owned by the rights holder to that script. Despite the fact that that script didn't get produced, that script was still made for a studio who would own the rights to that work, you know? We cannot use Zilla in the MonsterVerse without licensing the character. Do you see what I'm saying? I don't think it means anything. I don't think the Griffin can legally appear in the MonsterVerse. They don't own the rights to the character. Even though it was not used in the film, even though it was not made, the script was still produced, concept art was made, Stan Winston Studios created the designs. It's probably owned by TriStar Sony. So I don't think that we can use the Griffin in this movie. And I'll go a step further. The time has already passed. Terry Russo wrote Godzilla vs. the Griffin alongside Ted Elliott. Terry Russo also returned to write Godzilla Kong: The New Empire script. Terry Russo is not working on Godzilla Kong Supernova. It would be wildly bizarre for Russo to not build upon his prior ideas from his 1994 script with Godzilla Kong: The New Empire. You would think that the Griffin would have taken Shimo's place as Godzilla's opponent in that film, but the Griffin doesn't appear in that film. Terry Russo is not back for this new movie. It would be weird to build upon Russo's ideas without him. Like, they bring Russo back, he doesn't bring back the Griffin. Russo's not brought back for this one, and they go, let's build upon Russo's ideas. Those were so good that we didn't bring him back for this new one. Just saying. That's obviously, I don't think that's the reason they didn't bring Russo back. I don't think they had any issue with his script for New Empire. I think that probably the reason they didn't bring Russo back is because Russo was brought on by Adam Wingard. The reason he's not back now is because I think Adam Wingard's not back, and so they hired somebody else to write it. Dave Callahan is going to write the script. I'm not expecting the Griffin to show up, a character owned by a different studio. I don't think that this accidentally leaked the villain of Supernova, as I saw so many people trying to claim when this happened. I don't think that that's what happened here at all. I would not get your hopes up for the Griffin, but I could be wrong. I'd be very impressed if I'm wrong. That'd be crazy. What do you guys think though? What's your thoughts on all of the filming that happened? What are you most excited to see? I cannot wait for all of this. I'm just so hyped. Do you think the Griffin still might be the villain in this new movie? If so, comment below and let me know. Give me your evidence. I'd love to hear it. As always, I want to give a huge thank you to my patrons over on Patreon. It is through the support of the patrons on Patreon that I'm able to continue to make videos like this for you. If you want to support the Patreon, you can use the link in the description below where you can get early access to content, access to the Discord community, and more. If that's not your thing, please consider joining as a channel member. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you guys all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I will see you all next time for the next one. D-Man out.